This is the Bar Steward's Inquiry.
Right? You are talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
But that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
And it's a very warm welcome to this, the Bar Stewards Inquiry podcast, our usual Friday night look ahead to the weekend's action. And we have a new bar steward this week. We are very, very happy to welcome into the gang Mr. Adam Norman. Adam, welcome. I'm sure you'll have you have an amusing time anyway. I don't know if you'll end up backing any winners, but you will. I meant, from our tips, not from yours. But you will have an amusing time. And
if nothing else.
Absolutely. We welcome, as always, Andy Richmond. Good evening, Andy.
Good evening all.
And the punter's favourite, John Lang. How are you, John?
If I was any better, Cathryn, I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Oh, God, I love John. Just fabulous. Okay, so we're going to be looking ahead to the TV action from Wincanton and Sandown tomorrow. Anything else that the panel wish to talk about? We may pop on the end there. But first of all, we're going to get straight into the panel's three best bets for the weekend. John, I'm going to start with you. Could you give me your third best bet of the weekend, please?
Good move, that, Cathryn. Keep expectations low. My third best bet of the weekend is in the 123 at Newcastle, and that is Bavington Bob, who's only £1 higher than when winning last time, and I still think there's a bit of improvement to come with this one over the big black ones. It's only his third start over fences, and I think this stiff track and the potentially rotten conditions might just bring the best out of him. And I'm not over enamoured with a lot of the opposition, so I'm chucking my lot in with him with a massive 1 point win bet.
Okay, John, yeah. Few prices up. We've got 2 to 1, 9 to 4 in a place. Okay, Bavington Bob in third best bet there for John. Andy, go for it. Your third best bet.
I don't even need to build on that because strangely, on 3 cards full of scrap, really, over the jumps tomorrow. I've also gone for Bavington Bob as well.
Oh my God!
For God's sake!
So that's nailed that one to the carpet. I must admit, I was scratching around for anything like 3 best bets tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I found a reasonably decent one for the 3-pointer, but Bavington Bob, I was like John. I was quite impressed with his first time out over fences. He didn't beat much the last time out, but he ain't got much to beat here, really. Manetti won last time out, but he made plenty of mistakes along the way. The Paddy Pie, he's decent, but he's not going to be improving. I couldn't see many improvers. You never quite know what you're going to get with Scoop the Pot. But dear old Bavington Bob, from possibly the best very small stable in the country, Anne Hamilton, with the champion jockey elect on board, should do it for the 1 pointer at around 9 to 4. Okay,
awesome. All right, Adam, go for it. Your third best bet.
I feel like we're playing poker here. I've got a bet in the 123 at Newcastle, and and the bet I was going to put up was Bavington Bob. However, and I've not just changed my mind. I think in a race where very few can be fancied, I think he's a very good favourite. And I don't like opposing strong favourites. I just thought that the price was skinny enough. And so I've gone with Crixus's Escape, an old friend of mine who won a nice race at Ayr last year. I think he's a useful horse. And he's only had, I think, 10 runs over fences, so he's not one to put a line through just yet. I just thought he's got cheap pieces on. He's come down £15 in a couple of runs this year. I just think he's the type to just pop up. And although I'm loath to go against the two earlier tips, I just thought I'd throw in a double figure price horse for the 1 pointer. So it's Crixus's Escape for a bit of value against Bavington.
Yeah, excellent. And see, he is in fact sporting a tongue tie and pieces for the first time as well. So hopefully that might work the oracle a little bit. But yeah,
I think he just lost his confidence after breaking a blood vessel, perhaps first time out.
Okay.
And he was completely out of his depth, I think, in a class 2 at Haydock last time in bad ground. So I'm going to forgive that and down another £5. I'm just going to throw a point at him and see what he can do.
Okay, so Crixus Escape for Adam there, and they're currently around the 14-1 mark. So yeah, fantastic. Do like a double-figured one. Okay, John, come on, don't keep me in suspense. What's your second best bet of Saturday?
Well, as you can imagine, with the cards being as they are, I was struggling somewhat to find 3 stick jumpers to put up, and I've actually decamped to the 6:15 at Kempton.
You're allowed.
All that, yes.
This is a horse called Ajarial, who has gone to a trainer I quite like, young Joe Parr from Owen Burroughs' yard. Initially, this horse looked like Owen was plotting it up. Looked like 3 sighters, and then Owen got sick of the horse really, because he didn't really cut the mustard when the brakes were off. But since this horse got on the all weather, it hasn't done a lot wrong, and I think it still retains a little bit of potential in this Freya. Might be better with slightly less use made of it than last time as well. I thought it was in front plenty early enough and doing enough early enough. I like the jockey voting tomorrow. I think we've got the best rider in the race. Joe wouldn't bother getting a decent jockey unless he was fancying his chances as well. 2 points win. Okay, we like that. Okay, so currently around the 9-4 mark. Tom Marquand on board. Yeah, I think that's a winner for you, John. Yeah. Yeah, because things are going so well. Keep the faith, John. Keep the faith. Andy, your second best bet, please.
Right. Well, we're going to stay over the Twigs. No surprise there, is there? I'm definitely not on the road to Doncaster yet. And we're going to go for one of Sandy Thompson's in the 3:08. But strangely, on 3:08 tomorrow. I don't know why they bother with these times, because they never ever stick to them anyhow. I think the best the other week was when they moved the race time by a minute to accommodate, and they missed all of them. So absolutely frigging pointless. But the Thompson Yard in good form this time of the year. Shaka the King is the horse. I thought he ran pretty well first time out over fences last time. That was at Hexham. He was 4th of 12. That was his first run for Sandy after leaving the Nick Alexander yard. I thought again, I just looked like a horse who was just, could do better. I don't know if Adam was actually there that day at Hexham on the 8th of December. It was the day before my unfortunate 60th birthday. But were you there, Adam, that day?
I was, Andy. I was. There was a little bit of a whisper for the horse, actually.
Yeah.
He's a nice big chaser. I think the sense was that he blew up at the bottom of the hill and just got tired.
I watched the race back a few times, and I thought he shaped pretty well, especially when he was sort of back at. I think he's probably a bit better over further, but 2.5 will do him for now. Sandy Thompson, he actually does very well with horses that he gets from other yards second time out. He's got a very good strike rate, as much as I hate strike rates because nobody ever puts them into bloody context. So I will by quoting the winners above expected, which you should do rather than just quoting bloody strike rates all the time. It drives me absolutely bonkers. But he is, with horses he inherits from other trainers second time out, 13 from 66. Which is a winners above expected of 5.15, so he's outperforming the market. In fact, he'd have backed all of them. You'd have made a very healthy profit of 86 points. But I do think Shaka the King, he just looks in a race that he just doesn't look at much to beat, really. Probably Rapid Raider, who scraped home last time out from last of the Cosmics and possibly should have won at Musselburgh. I think the handicapper might just have that one, and Shaka the King just looked to have far more potential, shall we say, on his second run for Sandy Thompson. So I thought that was probably worth a couple of points on the nose tomorrow.
Okay, couple of points win. The 5-2 just showing on the early shows here. And I think Ryan Manier is riding fantastically at the moment as well. Won the Grand National, then stopped, halted his career, and I think since he's come back, he's just riding better than ever. I really do. I think I was very impressed with him over the Christmas period, and definitely a jockey I would employ on my horse if I was, of course, ever lucky enough to own a racehorse outright. But anyway, we can dream. Adam, absolutely. What's your 2-pointer there, Adam? Please.
Well, again, I was very close to putting up Shaka the King, funnily enough. I just thought, a bit like Babington, I just thought the price was on the skinny side for a horse that's just run once over fences. But I've got very little against it. Again, Andy's right in saying that it's a weak-looking race, and he is the most likely winner. I just fancied that we might be able to get some 7-2 or something like that, but. There we go. Anyway, I passed him over, and I've gone down to Wincanton 3:15 for the 2-pointer, and it's Killer Clown. He was in cheap pieces last time over 3 miles, and he ran, was it 2 miles 6? Yeah, 2:6. I didn't like those tactics at all. He was very buzzed up by the headgear, and they sort of rode him aggressively. And he'd done his running, by the time they got to 3 out, and I just put a line through that. To be honest, he showed a lot of potential last year, winning really nicely at Kempton. But that win put him into a sort of a higher level, and he's come up a little bit short. But this race looks a lot weaker than he's been running in. There's doubts about all 5 of the opposition, and they've switched the tackle to a tongue tie this time, and I think that might help him just settle a bit. I think 2.5 on soft is about right, and I think he's quite a confident choice, actually. I know he's as I say, he's got to come back off a slightly poorer effort, but I quite like him, actually. So he's quite a confident 2-pointer.
Okay, so confident 2-pointer on the nose there.
He was also strangely, while we're playing poker, he was also on my short list of selections as well. Yeah. And like Adam, I agree with Adam. I thought he shaped much better than the distance he was beaten last time out. He was just too buzzed up early on. I actually watched the race again this afternoon. I thought he did well to hang on as long as he did. Okay, he got beaten just shy of 30 lengths in the end, but it wasn't a bad race either. It's strange that they actually did the same thing with Paisley Park the day before, putting the headgear on. I thought they buzzed him up a bit as well. So maybe maybe question marks and putting headgear on the some of the Lavelle horses, but he might do a bit better. I think he'll do a bit better tomorrow. So
I think this race it'll be set up different. I think they'll sit behind Stolen Silver, who's got a bit to prove at the trip. Get him settled.
If you look at it on a handicapping basis, he's got a pretty decent chance. The handicap has been quite generous, I think.
Yeah, it's notable this season that they are, they're standing true to their word that they're dropping horses quicker than they used to. I just think it's a bit like the other 2 races that we looked at, Andy. That if we can find the weaker races. And find one with better credentials, then I think they're the kind of races you want to be trying to tackle. I think on a day like this.
As long as he settles a bit better early, and so with the cheekies off, he should do that. And he certainly looked to. If you go back to that the win on the win in 2020 on Boxing Day, that was a very, very decent performance. He's not quite done it since then, but you've got to think that he's still a bit of potential there, and he's still only 8.
Yeah, should be in his prime, and I think tomorrow. I'm expecting a big run.
Okay, so pieces off, tongue tie on for Killer Clown. We're getting to the stage of the show where a panel are going to reveal their best bets. John, shoot.
Well, this is one to get the blood pumping, and when I tell you Venetia Williams, Chair, you'll know exactly which part of the body the blood's going to be.
I know Venetia gets your blood pumping, John.
He's got a real thing for us.
Steady, lads, steady.
Yeah.
This is Clarinet in the 1:15 at Sandown. was quite well fancied when making its seasonal debut behind Cole Cody. Ended up pulling up after making several mistakes. Jumping came under a bit of pressure, I thought, in a slightly bigger field than he's got tomorrow. And a more competitive race, let's be fair about it. I think this looks the ideal race to get him back on track. My Sandown snout as well tells me that it's absolutely shiting it down there at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's the official term that the Met Office like to use as well.
Yeah, and the best rule of thumb with some of these Venetian horses is often when it's barely raceable, get on the winsome one.
You just want to get on the winsome one. I don't know whether
Come on.
This is true, yeah. So, in the absence of getting to the races and giving her a glass of fizz laced with raw hip, I'll sit at home, Swarfinger in hand.
Oh, John! Oh, this is a family. Well, it's not a family.
For the interview after the win. Anyway, that's the play. 3 points win. Come on, me darling.
Okay, so that's 3 points win for John and Faraday. Price around 6 to 4 at the moment. Right, move swiftly on. Andy, what's your big bet of the day?
Right, I'm going to go to Wincanton.
Okay.
And I'm going to go in the, I can't remember what time it is now, the 240. It's a bit of a complicated handicap hurdle, but Apple Rock is then to be the play here. I'm just checking. Now, Luca Morgan, let's hope he's got his navigation aids on this time out, because last time out, he played one of the cardinal sins and went down the inside of the hurdles track at Leicester. Anybody doing that should be shot. Because the first thing you do is, if you're playing him running, is lay anything, nearly anything. I'll get to one later, which actually won down the inside, which probably makes it quite a decent horse. But anything that goes down the inside on the hurdles track at Leicester, have they not been watching the racing? It is the worst place in the world. It is the swamp of all swamps. And Apple Rock actually did well to finish only 7 to 12 last time out. Got beaten 18.5 lengths, but did much, much better than that. Raced on the inside, ended up behind Go Steady, who won quite easily in the end, but I'm sure he's now slipped back below his last winning mark, and he just looks in better heart than he is. If he runs like he did when he won back-to-back handicaps in early 2021 at Hereford and Carlisle, I think he'd probably go pretty close here. There's a couple there's one that I'm particularly worried about down the bottom, crossing the bar, the ex Sir Michael Stout horse, who is in his first handicap, courtesy of just 2 fairly quiet runs in novices. He's had 2 places, so he does get in. But apart from that, it doesn't look to be an awful lot in the race. And I thought Apple Rock, if I can jam probably about 5 to 1 each way to 1.5 each way, I'll be very disappointed. I think most of the bookmakers are going 4 places. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't get in the 4, and I should be sending Mr. Morgan a note to keep away from the bloody inside at Wincanton as well, because that ain't a great place to be. If you can keep him nice and wide, I think he should be in the frame at the very least. Apple Rock, 240, Wincanton.
Okay, that's 11 to 2 is your best price on that at the moment. So that's Andy's best bet of Saturday. Adam, it's your turn.
Right, off to Wincanton again we go. 205 this time. 205. Belle de Menech, or Menech. I was massively impressed with this mare last time out over the course. First time over fences. I must say she completely gone under my radar. I didn't know anything about her, so I just watched the videos back, and she just looks all over a chaser. That was a second victory at the track, and she absolutely hosed up, beating a couple of horses who very consistent mares, Precious Eleanor and Little River Bay, who tend to run to their mark. So I think it's fair that the assessors put her up £10. But just the manner of the way she did it, the way she jumped, I just think we've got to stick with her. Down half a mile in trip, which is it wouldn't say it's a negative, because she did win over course and distance this time last year. What's interesting here is that there doesn't seem to be any pace in the race, so there's a lot of hold-up horses, and I'd be very surprised if they didn't ride it differently and parked her on the front end like they did over hurdles, and just let her use her stride and use her jumping prowess. It's not an easy track to come from behind from, even on soft ground. Again, I just felt there weren't that too many, that had too much in hand of the handicapper. Venetia's got one in there, Desque de Lille. That's a possible danger, and it's quite free going, so that could take on the running if they didn't want to do that with Belle de Menec. But she seems to have run to a pretty similar level the last 3 runs, that Desque de Lille. So again, pretty confident. Belle de Menec is the 3-pointer.
3-pointer at 7-2. Yeah, 14 lengths she won by on Boxing Day. And I would definitely agree with that assessment. And she's a beautiful looking mare as well. She's a grey mare. She's absolutely definitely caught the eye on Boxing Day. She was lovely. Right. Let's just take a look at the TV races tomorrow. It's a bit of a disappointment, I have to say, tomorrow's card. I think the Tolworth itself isn't the greatest. I think, given the ground and just generally the way things are, I definitely think that we could see an upset. I understand that the favourite Constitution Hill was impressive last time, but really, I think
might see a withdrawal if the ground's bad.
Nicky won't be there. He's got COVID, hasn't he?
Nicky will love it because he's probably loving it because he can swig loads of night nurse and actually have a genuine excuse for it.
I didn't know you could have gin and night nurse.
I think he just quite likes the night nurse without the gin anyway. But who knows? Anyway, enough about Nicky.
Is that a night nurse or the night nurse?
I don't know. I think it's probably just the night nurse. I can't imagine that. I'd say by the time it sort of gets to about this time of night, I'd say Nicky's not fit for anything, is he?
It's liquid, he'll drink it.
Yeah, I'd say that's about all he's ready for. Anyway, let's look at the TV races. We'll start with Sandown as it's the principal meeting. The 150, the Unibet Horse Racing Betting Operator of the Year. Really? Handicap chase, 1 mile, 7.5 furlongs. Does anybody have anything to say about this?
I thought the two-way scrap this, really.
Okay.
I thought Gunsight Ridge looked all over the winner last time, then it clouded the second last and proper curled up on the run-in, I thought. I think Numitor is probably slightly less of a fanny. Would do for me as a play in running if it looked like they still were fighting it out towards the finish, So they got 2 to jump and these 2 were going at it. I would back Numitor to see the other one off.
Okay.
That's what I'll be looking for in that.
A bit. So you think Gunsight Ridge is a bit of a fanny?
I do.
But like the what's the other one? Washington. isn't Washington a bit of a? I'm not talking about obviously the president. I'm talking about the horse. Isn't he a bit of a fanny as well?
Yeah. I mean, they're not a great lot, are
they? Okay, so
I did have a I think John's got the right angle. I think as Elvis said, he ain't nothing but a hound dog. I'm talking about Gunsight Ridge, not John. I think John's been quite soft on him. I think it's an absolute hound. Okay. Gunsight Ridge. He's been beaten 4 times a beaten favourite in its last 4 runs. And I know it's bumped up against Lon Press at Exeter last time. It turned into a sort of a Cheltenham Festival sort of tip, isn't it? But he does that every single time. Andy, you must have some data on
I'm looking at
Gunsight Ridge in running.
The last 5. This is his last 5 runs. Okay, so the last 5 races, he's finished second, third, second, beaten at 3-1, 11-4, evens 2-1, and 15-8. As you said, Adam, the last 4 occasions have been favourite. He was beaten the last twice off 127. He's now off 130, and probably even more damning, which would tie in with yours and John's observations. He's been beaten at having traded at lows in running of 1.33, 2.28, 1.14, 2.52, and 1.22. So might be pressing the pink button.
I think the issue is with Numitor is if you watch the video of him racing at Sandown last year, he did what he always does and jumps really well in gallops, and he absolutely walked up the hill, fading really badly from the last on what was admittedly bad ground. But we could get that tomorrow, and that just rang a bit of an alarm bell for me. I just wonder if there's something that's just going to pop up here.
Well, can I suggest one then?
Yeah, go on, Andy.
Moonlighter.
Right.
Now he's a bit of a bridal ponce in the finish. But he is down to a mark of 141, which is £3 below his last winning mark. I don't like the fact that he's going right-handed because he does jump out to his left a bit.
Yeah.
But if they do go mad up front, as we think they might do, he could just be one who just sort of falls in. And there's a few others like that. Possibly even old Bundoran as well.
Yeah.
He's still capable of falling in here, so you've got to watch how they run here. But
what about Monsieur Lecoq? He's on the same mark as when he nearly went Ascot 3 runs back.
Yeah, he jumped. He's another one who jumps out to his left though as well. So it's a bit I think it's a bit of a race. It's a bit of scrap basically.
It's a bit of a rogues gallery, isn't it? Let's face it. Yeah.
I think the obvious thing to do is stick a couple of short price lays in if you're of that persuasion on Gunsight Ridge, and you're not going to do yourself an awful lot of damage, and hope that something else comes and out battles him. Really, the evidence is there, my lord.
Okay, so any would you the consensus is Numitor?
If I had to pick one to win. I've been watching horses like Moonlighter and Bundoran closely in running, and I wouldn't be put off if they've gone a pace up front. I wouldn't be put adverse to slinging a couple of quid at them in running at bigger prices.
Okay.
I think I prefer another 2 bigger odds like Monsieur Lecoq and maybe up the straight. He gave. If you like the Faranet form, well, Faranet, beat him 6 lengths over the course, last year, and he didn't quite. I don't think up the straight quite got the 2.5 on soft ground. So back to 2, I can see him again. I can see him falling.
And he's been given some tough races as well.
Absolutely,
Gold Cup, the Chase was a grade 2. So I can see that one. I think the consensus is that Gunsight Ridge. If you're backing him at 7-4. I'm not sure I would be.
Well, I think if you are going to back him at 7-4, Andy, you'd still put those lays in, wouldn't you? Yeah,
get out. Yeah. Make sure you get your stakes back.
Okay, thanks for that, guys. Right, let's talk about the Tolworth, of course. Won by some greats in the past, of course. The mighty Desert Orchid won this race. Nothing of that substance lining up here tomorrow. Well, not yet anyway, but I can't see it. Are we with the favourite or are we against him?
I just wish he wouldn't turn up in these sort of races, Henderson. He's ruining it, isn't he? He gets sick of it every Saturday. There he is with his 1-3 pokes.
Yeah.
Why didn't he withdraw? Make a race of it.
But the thing is, though, he's at least he's running him. Yeah, he
so now.
Yeah. I get it, but it's
is he gonna run him on bottomless ground?
He's already said in his quote in the Racing Post, it's a big step up in class, and the ground is a definite question mark. I don't know why I'm talking like that, doing it.
Yeah, you need
It's up in the air about whether he'll handle it. Well, if it's up in the air about whether he'll handle it, it's got to be up in the air about whether he'll run it.
He says that about everything, though, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, of course.
He's terrified of soft ground.
He's got a bit of Gosdenitis, hasn't he, where the ground's concerned?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it sounds like he's got a ready-made excuse, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I would actually be against him here. I think there's 3 horses in here that have got more experience than him. You've got a trainer in cracking form, such as, like the Moors. And I think what's really quite interesting is I was just having a quick look at the horse there for Richard Newland, Dr. Richard Newland, sorry. Address him by his proper title, you little bollocks. One for all you Father Ted fans out there.
Excellent.
This horse has done winning on the flat in very soft ground in France. He's come here, his first run tomorrow for Richard Newland after leaving Peter Shergans, and he's pitched straight in here. He's won at Salisbury on the flat, last run on the flat 59 days ago, and I can see an upset. I don't know, it's just got upset written all over it. I mean, if we were racing here tomorrow, the ground would be absolutely disgusting. So God knows what it's going to be like at Sandown tomorrow.
I think there's so much hype around this horse.
Yes, there is. Yeah, there's too much.
It just makes you want to just try and get it beat,
Yeah. I mean, of course, he was impressive, and he's definitely one that you would say, great, look forward to seeing that horse run again, see what he can do. But it's just the hype that just destroys it these days.
And he's got to show something different today. He's got to show some minerals, isn't he? Because he will be off the... If he doesn't come off the bridle, he will be a good horse, But there's enough in there to suggest that he's going to come off the bridle at some point between the last two, and we'll see what he's made of.
The trouble is, with this particular contest, if he gets beat tomorrow, it then means we've got nearly 2 months of the racing blogger banging on about John Bon all the time, whereas at the minute the blogger doesn't know whether he wants a shit or a haircut, does he? Between the two of them. So, at least
I've muted him, John. I can't take any more.
I think that's just about life in general, though, isn't it, John? I don't think it's just between Constitution and John Bon. I think it's just a general sort of.
Yeah.
By the way, just as an aside, what's the crack with the stallion? Where's he gone? I haven't seen much of him these days.
I think he's back working for the finance company, making harassing phone calls, calling in bad debt.
Oh, is it?
He'll be doing that to the first Windsor night meeting, where they'll probably have maybe he's 230 quid saved up for the odds on Jolly and the Maiden.
He hasn't been sort of like, he's not been spotted on a BMX on a street corner selling
blowing cash. No.
So anyway, back to the Tolworth. Is there a solid bet in this for anyone?
I think there's if you don't want to take the favourite on, and let's say you're not going to do yourself much damage, and you've got some decent odds around. I mentioned one horse earlier when I was having my tirade about people riding horses around the inside at Leicester, and J'Etoile for the cunning Ryan Potter, who's pulled off a few notable little naughty gambles lately. This horse ran all the way around the inside at Leicester and won in the style of a pretty decent animal, and anything that wins around the inside at Leicester on the swamp is got to be worth having a look at. I think he was quite interesting. And the other one was the Gary Moore horse. Shall we have one more? If that horse settles, he's a decent animal, and it's pretty un-Gary Moore like to run send him straight to a Grade 1 when he's a maiden over hurdles. He's pulled really hard in all his. I mean, if you were going to back him, you'd probably need him to, wait to see if he settles, because there's a chance they could go a crawl here.
Who's going to make it? Who's going to make the pace, Andy? Where's the pace coming from?
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't try and make it with J'Etoile.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, go back and watch the race. I mean, he literally ran. I was amazed because he ran all the way around the inside. I mean, I've watched nearly every race at Leicester. Well, I've watched every race at Leicester this year, and there's hardly anything. I think he's the only horse I can remember that has won round the inside, going all the way around the inside on the hurdles track at Leicester.
He was fairly off the bridle, wasn't he, Andy?
And he ran really well. Yeah, I live an exciting life, John. It's like life in a bus lane, isn't it? That's what happens when you get older. You know, you're an old age pensioner.
Leicester, and Robbie Dunn seemed desperate to get on the inside.
Well, that was on the chase course. That was Johnny trying to put someone through the rails. But
yeah.
Oh dear.
Talking about Chitwell, Andy, he ran really well in that maiden Cheltenham that opened the season.
Yeah, he was third in that, wasn't he? Yeah.
Top Bandit won. Obviously, Top Bandit, then they sacrificed that disgrace of a race.
Well, he led in that race.
Yeah, and then he won at Chepstow. And you're right, and he's actually the dam of Chitwell is a full sister to Accordion Étoile and French Accordion. Yeah. It's from a very good family. Yeah.
Cost a few quid. Cost a few euro. And down in ship as well. I mean, you know, it's.
I think he's likely to pop out in front.
Yeah.
I looked at him without the favourite market and also just as a potential small trade in the race. But you know, you can sometimes get a funny result here. Lorcan Williams is on. I think Ryan Potter's a bloody good trainer actually.
Yeah.
He's gone a little bit he's not so much under the radar now, but I always have a look at his horses with duck eggs and have a speculative couple of quid on just in case they're trying. What is it now? It'd be the Easter money they'd be trying to get now, wouldn't it? Got the Christmas money up at Cathryn, but I think and he may well pop him out in front, and I just think, you know, the other one who could front run is Mr. Glass. I certainly can't see them popping and shall we have one more, because they do need to get him settled, but I think he's potentially a very decent horse as well. It's a better race than the betting would have you believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a classic Tolworth, but in betting terms, if you want to dig deeper and think, actually, you know what? The favourite's hype. This is actually, it's quite a nice race to bet in.
Yeah. You could definitely look at it that way.
Well, if you're not a natural layer, then back a couple, you know, Dutch a couple of the two or three others. If that feels more comfortable, essentially you're doing the same thing. But you know, there's a lot of the mental side of betting is important, and if that feels more comfortable to the way you bet, then do that, because effectively you're taking on Constitution Hill. Then it's not quite full cover, but you know,
this is the time of year when bubbles start to burst, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, pop. Absolutely. That's all right. Gino, of course, won the race at Cheltenham, where Washington was a massive fanny, as we discussed earlier. Had won at Fontwell previously with Paige Fuller. Again, I mean, he looked decent enough at the race at Cheltenham. Is he up to this, do you think?
Probably not, but probably not. But I don't think they've got to the bottom of him at all, to be honest. And he looks more of a stayer.
He does look more of a stayer.
Yeah, he's got some form on the soft. I think he won at Cheltenham despite a good ground, despite quite a steady pace. I think he's better than that. Whether he's good enough to beat this lot, I'm not sure. But you know, Jamie throws him in at the deep end, and you know, likes to find out how good they are. So you know, fair play. And yeah, this is only his third start over hurdles, so you know, he's got more form than the rest, because he's had had 4 runs in bumpers, you know, and they were all really consistent, solid. He's just a solid performer.
Solid, but possibly not.
Yeah, you can see. You can see if it's like a 3-place market, you might want to think about that. You know, you know, you can see him being there 2 out. You know.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the Unibet Veterans Chase over 3 miles. This could be absolutely horrible to watch, couldn't it? To be honest, this could just be one of those, like the what was it on Boxing Day? Was it the Castleford? I just thought
there were a few wars.
Why the hell am I watching this? This is horrible.
I mean, the biggest travesty of justice here. This used to. I can go back and remember this, and older listeners may remember this. This used to be the Mildmay Caslay Memorial over 3 miles. Over 3 miles 5.
Yeah.
And when you list the horses that won that, Borough Hill Lad, West Tip, Run and Skip, Steersby, Rhyme and Reason, Mr. Frisk, and Cool Ground won it twice, and 4 of that lot won it after they'd run in the Welsh Grand National.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those were the days, though.
Those were that, and that was when you had
those
some
horses. You know, you've got Grand National winners in there, you've got Gold Cup winners in there. That was when. I mean, I'm sorry. I know I always throw a bit of nostalgia in, and people are probably thinking, "Fuck's sake, let's get Lee back presenting." But I mean, those really were the golden days, weren't you? You know, when you had Desert Orchid running in a Whitbread, you know, like they were just amazing days.
I mean,
anyway.
I can remember my favourite horse, Jadami, running second in a Whitbread.
Yeah, Jadami. Yeah.
I mean, Christ, horses like that, right? I mean, but those names I've just reeled off there, I mean, they really do read like, they make me want to read.
Who's who? Yeah.
Who's who? So, and then it's only been run as a veterans for the last 6 years, isn't it? I mean, it's still a decent race, and I quite like the veterans chases because they give the old boys a bit of a chance, don't they? Rather than banging their heads against, horses who are, probably a little bit better and better handicapped as well. It's not a bad race tomorrow. I mean, I suppose the main thing is, are you so off top weight, isn't it? I mean, it has been that sort of. I mean, he'd be breaking all sorts of records because he'd be the highest winning mark ever. Because the highest before was 145 when it was won the first year, and he's off 149. I mean, Senior Midnight won it last year. We've had all sorts of ages winning it. 3 11-year-olds, 2 13-year-olds, and a 12-year-old. This is actually the smallest field we've had. I thought there were a couple in here. ASO is, I mean, he's obviously the class horse in it, but there are a couple in here. There's a couple that I think we'd probably describe as, one we'd probably describe as a little bit gutless, but old Rolling Dillon, who seems.
I was just going to say, you're talking about Rolling Dillon.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has got on his CV 10 in running defeats at 2 even money or less. But he's the sort of horse who might, I mean, you saw him last time out. I mean, he was ridden by a girl who was having her first ride in public, and he did stop up the hill. But I think if you're looking for a trade in the race at a reasonable price, he's the sort of horse who might just get smuggled into this by Michael Nolan. And the other one I thought was the King's Writ, who looks to have been lined up for this because he won one of the early qualifiers. And then they put him away and then brought him back last time out over a trip that was miles too short behind that decent horse of Venetia's we mentioned earlier. Was it Long Press? And he led till about 4 out of Exeter over 2 miles 3. And he's actually been dropped £3. And I thought they were two value losers against the field, maybe. Ones that,
I think it's interesting.
You're looking at sort of 12s and about sort of 12, 11, double figure prices. I think you could probably trade both of those quite effectively, although between them they've racked up 18 in-run defeats at even money or less. So that probably tells you something.
I think with the King's Writ, he's not won for far too long for me, and also Kaylee's not trained a winner for 230 days.
Yeah, there is that.
So a couple of negatives there. What does Mr. Leng think?
Yeah, I was just going to say, John.
Venetia's warm favourite.
Well, Venetia's warm favourite is one of 3 that's either not sporting cheap pieces, tongue tied, coming back from a wind up or whatever. All these cheap pieces, there'll be less wool on the show in an Australian sheep station. And in fact, I think you'd have to clag a couple of U's on the side of Rolling Dillon's head to even consider backing him. But the one I liked actually was Indy 5, won last time and has only had 20 starts under rules, believe it or not. It's a veritable spring chicken against these. I think the run last time indicates the horse is in decent nick. The stable's in good form. I think he's a sporting little poke at 14s, but I don't like these races, in all honesty.
What? A chase over 3 miles, John, up your street.
What's not to like?
I like watching them. I don't like backing in them.
I don't like watching them. not on this ground, anyway.
I like watching them on teletext.
I mean, Blackline was Blackline. We all loved Blackline winning it at Haydock, didn't we? That was warmed the cockles.
I do actually quite fancy one on this, and it was a horse who was a very good juvenile and one last time for David Pipe and Gwen Silly Burbus. I do quite like that in this race, I have to say. But
do you think this is far enough for him, Cathryn?
I think in the ground, yeah.
He did jump well last time.
Yeah,
avoided making a complete Horlicks of anything. But
yeah. I remember seeing this horse run in Ireland as a juvenile, and I really thought that he was going to be something. But yeah, I think whether or not I back him, I don't know. It depends on how bad Sandown gets.
Why are they putting the tongue tie on after a win?
I don't know, to get an extra win.
Fair comment.
I don't know. That's. I mean, maybe they just think they might plug out a bit of like improvement with a tongue tie. I don't know about that.
It's a weird one, that.
Yeah. So okay, we've got we've got one more TV race at Sandown to go. Yeah, 3:35. Christ Almighty. Yeah, 3:35 at Sandown.
Give this one short shrift, Cathryn.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's rattle through this.
Yeah.
I'll throw it open. Does anybody want to mention anything in this?
Well, Hermes Boy's the obvious one, isn't it? I mean, Stable won this race in a very similar type 3 years ago with Monsieur Lecoq. His handicapping debut. Hermes Boy looks the same. Jane Williams hasn't got a bad record with handicapping debutants. Certainly over hurdles, she's 3 from 13 and a positive winners above expected. Natural History is incredibly well handicapped, but I think I've said that a few times before, and I suppose the main danger is Mac the Man in an uninspiring contest. I think I'd probably somebody put a gun on my head. I'd probably have to go with Hermes Boy, but it's not a contest I'd really want to be playing in.
Yeah, no, definitely not for me. John, anything for you?
Just thought McGowan's pass might travel into it fairly well and might be a trade out 10-1.
Okay. Adam?
No, nothing much really, I'll be honest with you. No, horrible little race.
yeah, absolutely. You've called that. Okay, so we've got a few TV races at Wincanton, the 1:30, the 2:05, the 2:40 and the 3:15. Adam, I know that a couple of you, actually Andy as well, you've got a few fancies at Wincanton. Is there anything in the TV races apart from your picks in the 3 best bets?
Well, I think the 1:30 needs a mention insofar as it's the Leonna Mayer new house celebration handicap hurdle, for Christ's sake. Now,
has Leonna got a new house, or is she getting a new house?
Well, when we go off air, I'm going to be having words with the producer, actually, because I know she's quite thick with Leonna, and I'm wondering why we haven't had an invite to the housewarming from us barsteward. But I bet Gay Calloway and Banks have been invited. Do you think a sort of big name guests are invited, but the barstewards aren't? Absolutely, yeah.
It'd be like Novak, wouldn't it? We haven't got the right visa.
Exactly. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of us aren't jabbed up anyway.
We're probably all about 40 years too old, to be fair. No, I'm talking about the men here, not the.
No, trust me.
Oi, just because I'm an old git, there's nothing.
We're all old gits, Andy.
Well, I'm just older than most. That's right.
I'm older than I look.
Anyway.
I did think Planned Paradise shaped an awful lot better for the application of money in the betting market last time.
No.
Yeah, and I think it would be churlish to suggest that they plotted this one up with a mere £11 in hand. So I would expect that one to go close again in this race.
Yeah, current 4-1 joint favourite. And I do have to say, do you know what? A jockey I really like is James Best. That lad gives 100% every time.
Excellent.
He's bloody brilliant. And I wish that he would get... I know he gets a lot of opportunities from a lot of the little trainers that use him, but I really would love to see him ride a big winner. I really would. I think he's a brilliant jockey.
While we're mentioning jockeys, can I say that I did think that the young lady who rode the 2 jaunties at Chepstow yesterday, Thomasina Oyston, gave them both excellent rides.
I
think she's well worth £7 at the moment.
Yes, she is.
Absolutely.
And,
Didn't panic, presented the horse at the hurdles lovely, strong in the finish. I thought she was really, really excellent. I think she's one to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And she's actually doing a chemistry degree, isn't she?
She is a chemistry
Yeah.
at Bristol. She's in the last year.
Yeah.
Any trainer worth his salt would be looking at her then.
I'll serve them up, John. You just whack them back over the net.
Do you know what? I thought to myself, oh Christ, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, asking for trouble.
Okay, we'll just
nuts and hay.
Anything in the 205 taking your fancy, John? I know you love the National Racing. Come on, what's going to win the 205 at Wincanton?
3 words for you here: Road to Doncaster.
I agree with Adam.
The Sky Bet chase.
Build them a neck. Got a good chance.
Okay, right, no problem at all. That's short and sweet. What else have we got? 240 at Wincanton.
I'm in already, so.
Yeah.
Eye-catching jockey swap here, Nico off, Bowen on.
Yeah, but
Start to bring some improvement about Blair Gowrie, shouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, God Almighty! Imagine if you had a horse with Hendo, and like it was a real decent horse, and you'd be like, "Oh yes." Well, pop Nico on it. You'd be like, "No, you're right, mate. You can have James Bowen, please."
Can I get Mr. Thomas Dogrel on, please?
Christ almighty, we had one with the kilt, and he was after putting Joe on.
Like you'd just be like, no. Yes, do you know what, John? I wholeheartedly concur with your assessment there.
Yeah, it's got to improve, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, right, you'll be pleased to know, and I'm sure the listeners will be equally delighted to know, our last race, the 3:15 at Wincanton. So if anybody has anything enlightening to say about the 3:15 at Wincanton, please speak now or forever hold your peace.
How dead is Slate House?
It's a tragic tale, isn't it? Tale.
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah. I mean, God, is there any quotes in the post from the Tizards? Because they'll probably.
Yeah, I can read it to you, John.
Let's have it. So there must be massive improvement.
I'll read it in my poshest voice. Joe Tizard, assistant trainer. He's got first-time blinkers on, which he's been schooling very well in, and should bring that last little bit out of him. He's dropped to a mark where he's more than capable of performing at. We've been a bit disappointed with him in his last couple of runs, but this is a nice race for him, and he should be competitive.
Oh, Christ. Okay, so basically, Adam, I know that obviously you are very sweet on Killer Clown. Do the rest of the panel agree with Adam there?
I would rather back Killer Clown than anything else in that race.
Yeah, John.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey!
Great, that was easy. Cheers, guys.
They all look dodge pots to me. Notre Paris looks a bit of a dodger.
Yeah.
Mont des Avalois, I've never liked it.
Had a long time off after that fall as well, wasn't it? Beginning of last.
Yeah. I didn't even like it before. That used to jump hurdles pretty badly. He's not for me. Stolen Silver was. I mean, it was a Mickey Mouse race. He won at Market Race and did it impressive enough, but that was like summer form, and he's got it to prove at this trip. I think, as I said, I just think he'll set it up nicely.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong? Slate House bounces out and makes all in first time blinkers. There you go.
Yeah.
Can imagine the sort of like, imagine the bar but you're right, John.
What happened there? Someone just fainted.
Yeah.
He's going to let the dog in.
Right, that is the Friday Bastards with added furniture noise. I do believe the guys will be back with a Sunday sermon because, as always, it's been an eventful week in racing. When isn't it these days? But thanks very much for listening. Have a great weekend, and the guys will chat to you on Sunday.
Right, the show's over, boys. Thank you very much.